Hypnosis is a very effective way to access the subconscious mind and change unhelpful thought patterns. This can help people gain motivation, tap into their creativity, become more confident, and access happiness more easily. And these are just a few of the possibilities. But what's the history behind modern hypnosis? Hi, I'm clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones, and I'm here to share my knowledge of hypnosis with you to help you change your life. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're here to improve your life, I'm here for you. The history of hypnosis is a mystery to so many people, and I'm here to tell you it's all about understanding the people and methods that influenced its development. I'm going to show you what history tells us about the factors that affect how hypnosis as we know it today came to be. But first, let's look at why we should be concerned with the history of hypnosis in the first place. The word hypnosis comes from the Greek word hypnos, meaning sleep. James Braid is given credit for using the phrase in 1843 due to his belief at the time that hypnosis was strongly related to sleep. Later, he revised his thinking and attempted to rename it monoideism, which means fixation of attention, but the term hypnosis had already caught on and it proved difficult to change that. Despite the word not existing as we know it until the 1840s, it is thought that elements of hypnotism go back to civilizations before 1 AD. It's difficult to know if what we now consider hypnosis existed in ancient times, primarily because recordings of ancient communications are rare and not very specific. There are mentions in early texts, however, that do appear to indicate hypnosis-related behavior. The ancient Hindus, Egyptians, and American Indians talked about certain practices that appear to employ elements of modern hypnotism, including references to the use of fixed attention, incantations, and trance-like states. Most of the ancient use of hypnotism appears to have revolved around healing. Sleep temples were created by ancient Egyptians, Grecians, and Romans to help with medical remedies. While the ancient use of hypnosis is somewhat unclear due to the lack of precise description, it's striking how aspects of what we now know as hypnosis seem to have been utilized in different cultures in early civilizations. Although Anton Mesmer and his animal magnetism get much of the credit for introducing the principles of modern hypnotism to the world, it needs to be acknowledged that the theory he popularized was taken from a few sources. The use of magnets for medical healing goes back to Paracelsus, the 16th century Swiss alchemist, and William Maxwell, his 17th century Scottish follower. In fact, in 1775, Maximilian Hell published a report of magnetic cures already achieved in France and England. It's fair to say that Mesmer piggybacked off of those ideas and tweaked them to solidify his own theory. Although he didn't invent the theory, Mesmer coined the phrase animal magnetism and popularized magnetism's use in healing. Mesmer believed that magnetic fluids within our bodies were crucial for our health. When these fields were out of balance or in conflict with each other, they could cause illness, and he claimed that he could manipulate the flow of these fluids and thus return the person to a state of health. Initially, manipulation was done through the use of magnets. Later in his practice, he rejected the use of magnets and claimed that by passing his hands over a body, he could rebalance the magnetic flow due to his individual powers of magnetism. The Marquis De Pue Sager was a French aristocrat who was a disciple of Mesmer. He continued to practice under the flag of magnetism, but moved the theory away from the importance of magnets and instead focused on artificial somnambulism. This is the trance-like state characteristic of more modern hypnotic work, which seemed to occur in the majority of magnetized clients. José Custodio de Faria, a Portuguese priest, took Sager's work a step further. It can be said that his theory marked the end of the magnetism movement. In the early 19th century, he proposed that it was not magnetism or the hypnotist that was responsible for inducing a trance-like state. Instead, it was the result of the imagination of the subject. He's also credited with introducing suggestion into hypnosis. He practiced suggestion in the waking state and in post-hypnosis. In the early to mid 19th century, hypnosis gained popularity as a form of anesthesia. This was possibly helped along by the lack of medical treatments that could produce analgesic effects. Chloroform and ether were not used as anesthetics until the mid 1840s. Up until that time, most surgeries were conducted without any treatment to dull the pain. The Scottish surgeon James Esdale, practicing in India, performed thousands of minor and hundreds of major operations using hypnosis in the 1840s and 1850s. He believed in magnetism and would pass his hands over his patients while stroking their skin in order to promote pain relief. It was reported that only 5% of his patients died during surgery. The average was about 50%, causing many to believe that hypnosis was the reason for the lower mortality rate. Keep in mind, however, that correlation does not imply cause and effect. James Braid, the Scottish doctor, was intrigued by the use of magnetism as an anesthetic, but rejected the main theory that it was related to magnetic fluids and the power of the magnetists. Instead, he thought that a hypnotic trance was the result of individual processes. Braid attempted to delineate his beliefs from traditional magnetism by naming his process hypnosis. Besides naming the practice as it exists today, his emphasis on relaxation and fixed eye induction techniques make him a pioneer in the field. The rest of the 19th century was dominated by the developments coming from the French schools of hypnosis. These were the Nancy and Salpêtrière schools of thought. Their competition and enduring conclusions formed the basis for much of the theory of modern hypnotherapy training. The work of Braid and Faria provided the foundation for the work of the Nancy School of Hypnosis, named for its location in Nancy, France. The Nancy School rejected magnetism and embraced suggestion as the primary basis of hypnosis. The Nancy School was founded by Dr. Liebold, a French doctor who initially embraced magnetism but soon became convinced that hypnosis was entirely a psychological process. He eventually saw hypnosis as a state that could be produced by suggestion. He believed anybody could be hypnotized. Jean-Martin Charcot became chief of medicine at the Salpêtrière Women's Asylum in 1862. Unlike Liebold, he believed hypnosis to be a psychological state associated with hysteria. He theorized that hypnosis occurred in 3 stages: catalepsy, lethargy, and somnambulism. Charcot did not believe imagination played a role in hypnosis and thought the hypnotic state was only possible in those people with psychopathology. Although he did believe in the power of suggestion, he did not think suggestion was the major cause of hypnotic activity. These major differences led to a great rivalry between the 2 French schools. Much of Charcot's work was eventually discredited, and the overall conclusions of the Nancy School were embraced by the hypnosis community. Despite the demise of the Salpêtrière, the interest fueled by the 2 schools of thought is often thought of as the golden age of hypnosis. The work of Pierre Janet owes a debt to both of the French schools of hypnosis. He studied with Charcot in Paris and later Bernheim in the Nancy School. He developed theories of unconscious processes, dissociation, and traumatic memory. Although he initially believed that hypnosis was a psychological process, he was later convinced that suggestion was the cause of hypnotic activity. Still, his work with Charcot had a major influence over him. His innovative theory that thoughts can become dissociated from conscious awareness was a result of his work with hysterical patients at Salpêtrière. If you want to experience hypnosis, then head on over to stevegjones.com and download the free 1-hour hypnosis audio that I've recorded for you. That's stevegjones.com. Head on over there after this video. Now, let's talk about the historical bridge between hypnosis and psychology. Despite the victory of the Nancy School of Thought, the popularity of hypnosis waned after the end of the 19th century. The conclusion that hypnosis was the result of suggestion rather than a psychological process moved it outside the realm of conventional medical study. Additionally, the use of hypnosis in stage shows damaged its reputation as a serious science. Further, the work of Sigmund Freud devalued the use of hypnosis and led to the emergence of psychotherapy as a possible replacement. Sigmund Freud was a young Austrian physician who came to France to study under Charcot at the Salpêtrière. He eventually believed in hypnosis and was especially interested in its uses in treating the psychopathology of hysteria. He soon collaborated with a colleague, Joseph Breuer, in using hypnosis in the treatment of hysteria. Freud eventually grew frustrated with hypnosis for several reasons. Primarily among them was that he could only hypnotize a fraction of his patients. At the turn of the century, he abandoned hypnosis in favor of the technique of free association. Although hypnosis was still practiced in the early 20th century, its reputation had been tarnished. Its return to credibility occurred in the 1920s under the umbrella of experimental psychology. Clark Hall was a psychologist at the University of Wisconsin. Hall believed that hypnosis research had never achieved a respectable level of experimental validity. The studies of Charcot and others were done using their own patients, and the conclusions were highly biased. He believed that the study of hypnosis should occur in a laboratory, and he was the first to legitimize the experimental study of hypnosis. In addition, Hall was the first to measure hypnotic suggestibility in participants and gave rise to the state-non-state debate. That's the argument concerning whether hypnosis is a special state of consciousness or an everyday state of being. Hall was definitive in his belief that hypnosis was a different state than sleep. Milton Erickson studied at the University of Wisconsin at the same time as Hall, but they could not have been more different. Erickson was more interested in the clinical use of hypnosis. He used hypnosis as a way of promoting change through the unconscious mind. Like some of the great hypnotists of the 19th century, he wished to use hypnotism to heal people of their maladies. Erickson tailored his style to meet the needs of his individual patients, making it difficult to imitate him. He's seen as highly influential as both a hypnotist and psychotherapist. The use of hypnosis as a clinical treatment for various ailments has been accepted by portions of the psychology and medical professions, but not without some skepticism. Largely helped along by the work of Erickson, the clinical use of hypnotism saw a resurgence from World War II onward. The success of hypnosis for reducing multiple forms of pain has an extensive recent history. In 1956, Pope Pius VII noted its use in reducing pain in childbirth. Similarly, the American Medical Association recommended it for certain medical and dental issues in the United States. More recently, it has been used as an anesthetic aid in surgery as well as an analgesic for burns and headaches. It has been found to reduce the anxiety and pain related to dental procedures. A National Institutes of Health panel issued a statement in 1996 indicating that there is strong evidence that hypnosis alleviated pain related to cancer. Hypnosis has had varying success in treating a variety of medical challenges, including allergies, irritable bowel syndrome, warts, asthma, and hypertension. It has even shown some promise with the issues of impotence and obesity. Starting with Charcot and Freud, hypnosis has had a long history of treating mental health issues. As we have seen in the work of Hall and Erickson, it appears that psychology and hypnosis are often intertwined. In the 20th and 21st centuries, hypnosis has often been used to treat a myriad of psychological issues. In particular, the use of hypnosis has been found to aid in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Let's talk about forensic hypnosis and memory retrieval. Is hypnosis reliable in memory retrieval? During the late 20th century, hypnosis began to be used to uncover memories as evidence in legal cases. This was especially true in cases involving abuse, where memories might be repressed due to emotional trauma. While many law enforcement officials have found hypnosis useful for recovering lost memories, it's not without its controversy. Research has found 3 areas in which the use of hypnosis may lead to flawed memory recall. 1. confabulation or distortion of the memory, 2, creation of false memories, and 3, overconfidence in the reporting of the memory. Let's talk about hypnosis laws. Due to the lack of reliability in the use of hypnosis, certain states have created laws that specifically show how hypnosis may be used in legal cases. For example, in 1982, the California Supreme Court outlawed the use of hypnosis in procuring direct evidence, concluding that it caused pseudo-memories, false memories, in victims. However, the court ruled that information obtained through hypnosis may be used to obtain leads that may aid in the securing of additional admissible evidence. These California laws seem to sum up the use of hypnosis as a forensic tool across the United States. While it can be helpful, courts are reluctant to completely rely upon it for evidence. If you would like to experience hypnosis, you're not alone. That's why I created a free 1-hour hypnosis audio. It only takes a minute to download it, and you can listen to it immediately. Go to stevegjones.com now to download your free hypnosis MP3. You'll be glad you did. And there you have it. Now you've seen and heard the history of hypnosis. It's been known about and practiced since ancient times. It has also been through many changes, and it's still in use today. Thanks for watching. Have you discovered something in addition to what I've shared about the history of hypnosis? What do you think of the history of hypnosis? Leave your findings and thoughts in the comments below. I'm interested to see if anyone has found something interesting besides what I've shared. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones, hoping you have an outstanding day.